How you look is important to you. And it's our job as stylists to get you to that goal. But can we just be honest? So when you come in to get your hair done, you and your stylist have an obligation. And above all things, it's to be honest with each other about what's going to happen that day in the chair. Let's start with what your job is. You need to know what you want. It's not the stylist's job to read your mind. And what I may think will look good on you, you may hate. I've had that happen to me where I've gone to a stylist and I'm like, well, just do what you want, what you think looks great. They do something, they're super excited about it, and I hate it. Because the matter of fact is, a lot of times people want to change, but they're not used to seeing themselves with change. And so they're used to seeing themselves as themselves. So a lot of times change is not always a good idea, especially if it isn't their idea. So come in with an idea of what you want and come in with an idea of what your budget is, because not all hair services are created equal when it comes to how long they'll take, how much product they'll take, and how much they're going to cost you. The days of getting just a plain old partial foil or a root touch up or whatever have kind of gone behind us, and everything's much more complicated now. So there are those services that are still very simple, but very few people even want them. Be prepared to answer questions. Your stylist can't know what she's getting into unless she has a few questions answered. And the first one that I always ask is, tell me what you don't like about your hair right now. Obviously, you're there because there's something you don't like, right? So I glean a lot from that answer. And then I usually follow up with, well, tell me what you do like about your hair. Because a lot of times there are things you do like about your hair, and I don't want to go above and beyond your needs and change something that you actually liked. Maybe you like the cut, maybe you like the color. I don't want to change things that you're happy about. I usually also ask, how much time do you spend daily doing your hair? Some people roll out of bed, throw it in a messy bun, and out the door they go. That tells me they're going to need some length. Some people like to spend time curling or flat ironing, so that means I can do something that's going to create a look that is going to need a little more effort in the mornings, but may be well worth it in the end. So it's important for me to know how much time you enjoy spending on your hair. Now, you could probably say, well, nobody enjoys that, but no, some people do. I actually went to hair school with a gal that told me she would stay up at night thinking about the next day, how she was going to do her hair, how she was going to do her makeup, what she was going to wear. It was a joy for her. Those kind of things were her joy. So some people enjoy doing that, and I need to know that before we get started, because many of the looks people are bringing in from social media are heavily styled with product. And so I need to know if you're willing to put that effort in to get that look. I'll usually ask you what type of products you use. Now, I'm not brand specific. There are a few brands that throw up red flags with me, but I really don't care as much about the brand as I care about the products you use and why you use them. Shampoo and conditioners, we start with that. And then what kind of styling products do you use and why? Do you use mousses? Do you use gel? Do you use a wax? Do you use hairspray? These are the kind of things I need to know so that I know what you're familiar with and what will work for you. Are you willing to try something new? Or maybe you don't like products at all, and that may have a lot to do with the look we can end up with when you walk out the door. Also, what kind of tools do you have at home? Do you have a blow dryer? I've met many people that don't even own a blow dryer. Do you have a flat iron? Do you have a curling iron? Do you know how to use them properly? I'll talk about heat settings, things like that. I'm here to educate you as well as glean information from you so that we can get you the best look before you walk out the door. A lot of times I'll ask how often you wash your hair, and that's not a judgment call. People are washing their hair much less nowadays than they used to. I mean, it used to be every single day. And if that's you, that's fine. But if I hear a couple times a week, that's fair too. Depending on the style of hair you have, you may not need to wash it as often. My hair is very thick and dry, so I can get away with washing it twice a week and be fine because it absorbs the oils and things and just doesn't need to be washed that often. If I washed it every day, it would be so dry and brittle, I wouldn't be able to do anything with it. Curly haired people, same thing. They don't wash their hair every day. But if you have fine, thin, oily hair, you may need to wash it every day. Sometimes washing it too much can cause it to be oily. These are just things I ask so that I can help you have the best look when you leave the salon and going forward. Another big thing, especially in this area, are minerals in our water. So I'll ask you if you're on well water. I'll ask you what area of this of this town we live in, you live in, because there are areas that are worse than others as far as minerals in the water. And I might suggest things that can keep that from happening. I had a previous video where I talked about how a mineral buildup on your water can make your hair dry and brittle and gross, and you don't even know why it's happening. So that's a question I usually ask as well. And then most importantly, I'm going to ask your hair history. And I need to know your hair history 1 year back for every 6 inches of hair you've got on your head. Hair grows about a half an inch a month. So if your hair is down to your butt and you think you don't have color on your hair because the last time you colored it was a year ago, you're wrong. This is especially important if we're going to do any kind of a lightening service like a foil or a balayage. The lighteners we use are professional and safe, but there are some things they do not react well with. So it's important also to know what type of color you have on your hair. Professional products are usually not going to be a problem, but there are hair box dyes out there, not all of them, but that have certain metals and things in them that will really cause things to go awry if I put bleach on them. So it's important to know your hair history and what kind of services, chemical or otherwise, you've had done. 1 year for every 6 inches of hair you have on your head. Make sense? Think about that next time you come in. Be prepared to answer that, especially if you're getting color. Now let's talk about some of the things I want to get across to you when you're in my chair. I'm going to listen carefully. Sometimes I'll repeat things back to you because I want to make sure I heard them the way you were trying to say them to me. This is really important when we're talking about looks and the way you want the hair to fall or the way you want it to look or what you're not liking or what you are liking. I'll repeat that back to you because I want you to hear what I'm hearing so that we're on the same page. I'm going to assess your hair the best I can. Sometimes this may include a strand test. It's rare, but especially if you've got some unknown hair history, or maybe you're not sure, I might want to do a strand test, especially if we're going to be using lightener. Most of the time I can figure out what's going on just by talking to you and getting your honest answers on things. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to give you the best hair you can. So I just need to know the answers. And so I'm going to assess your hair. I'm going to put my fingers through it. I'm going to comb through it. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to look at your scalp. I'm going to do all these things so that I can jump into it with my eyes open. I want to be ready to offer options. I want you to bring photos in with you, but I also want to be able to offer options. A lot of people bring in photos that are so unrealistic. You may have super thick Mufasa hair, but the girl in the picture has wispy fine hair, or the opposite. You may have just very fine, barely enough to cover your head, and then you show me pictures of J-Lo with extensions and the whole thing, and you think I'm going to cut your hair to look like that. So if you show me a picture that's unrealistic, I want to be ready to offer you options. And I'm hoping that you'll be flexible to understand that. So going back to part of your job is when you look at pictures and bring them in, be realistic about that hair on the head that you're looking at. And is your hair even capable of doing anything like that? The other thing I always tell people is put your thumb over the face of the person and see if the hair is still what you want and not just the beautiful girl in the photo. I'm guilty. I want to be able to answer any questions you have. I spend a lot of time researching and finding out things when I can. If you ask me a question and I don't have the answer to it, I am happy to find it for you and get back to you later through a text, or maybe even while you're processing, I can go look that up because I want to be educated and be able to answer any questions you may have about the process, hair issues, the color I'm using, all of those kind of things. So my job is to be there to answer your questions. So don't be afraid to ask. I'm also here to give you realistic expectations about your maintenance routine. If you come in for a big change, it's not a one and done in most cases. To keep that look going, maybe you're going to have to come in every 6 weeks. Maybe it's every 12 weeks. It depends on the look and the color and the style that you're asking for. And that can go even for cuts. So it's important to know, especially if you're making a big change, that there may be maintenance involved. And are you willing to follow through with that? Or are you just going to let it grow out and go back to yuck after spending all that money on a big change? Maybe it's for an occasion and you don't care, but it's important that I let you know what the maintenance on this might be. And if your maintenance schedule doesn't fit in with that, maybe we can talk about options that'll be similar, but less maintenance. I always try to give you a price before we start. My prices are on my website, and most stylists do have their pricing available to you ahead of time. But if it's going to go beyond what you have seen on the website or when you book the appointment what was told. It's important for your stylist to let you know that up front. If you're concerned, or if you're on a very tight budget and you know I'm here to spend $200 and that's it, don't take for granted that that might be the price when you're done. Now, the stylist should let you know, but sometimes they get so excited about doing the hair, they may overlook that and forget to tell you. And we don't want you to have sticker shock and leave with a bad taste in your mouth when you leave. So if you're on a tight budget and you really can't go over that dollar amount, let them know right up front, because that could make a difference on the hair they're going to do that day. And last of all, it's my goal to see you happy when you leave. I never want you to be disappointed. I want to do all I can to get you the look that you came in for. Things happen. Sometimes it isn't perfect. I do try to guarantee my work, as most reputable stylists will. If something goes wrong or it's not what you wanted, then usually we're happy to fix it or try to do something different for you. There have been cases, though, and I'll be honest, where I'll have someone sit in my chair. They'll tell me what they want. I advise them that it's probably not a great idea. I don't think their hair is going to do that. And then they insist on it anyway. I do my best. It doesn't turn out the way they'd hoped, and they're upset. There's nothing I can do about that. All I can do is go in and try to let you know right up front that, this isn't going to work. If you still want to do that, then, I can try. I can do the best I can. But the biggest problem, I think, and I was really guilty of this before I started doing hair myself, is thinking of hair as a static object. I want my hair gold, so I'm going to paint it gold, like a wall. I want my cut to be this shape, and so I'm going to carve it that way, like wood. It's not that easy. Hair is very fluid. Every head of hair is different. And so not all things work on every head of hair. And we just need to know that going in. I usually tell people, whether they come to me or a different stylist, if you're changing stylists, give them 2 or 3 chances before you call it quits. If they just really cannot make you happy, then move on. But if you're jumping from chair to chair to chair because no one ever does my hair right, no one ever probably will do your hair right unless they get lucky, because it takes once or twice with your hands in that particular head of hair to learn it, to know what it can do. We can use our best judgment and go in and do what we know usually works, but if it doesn't work on you that time, we adjust the next time and it should get better. So just keep that in mind next time you go to your hairstylist. And remember that the consultation is very important. If you're not getting a consultation, there aren't questions and answers going back and forth between you and your stylist before you start, that's when I'd be concerned. Have a good one.